Imagine you could step into a time machine. You travel back 7,000 years to a small farming village. You find a man there. Not a warrior, not a champion. Just an ordinary farmer, going about an ordinary day. And on a whim, you challenge him to an arm wrestle. You'd lose. Not a close match. Not a valiant effort. You would lose badly. Your arms slammed to the table by an average person from the ancient past. Because here is a strange truth that science has slowly uncovered. The humans who came before us, our ancestors, going back tens of thousands of years, were, on average, dramatically stronger than we are today. Not a little stronger. Not, they did more chores. We're talking about bones so dense, muscles so developed, that the average person from the deep past would look, to us, like a trained athlete. So what happened? Why were they so strong? And more unsettling, what changed in us? Let's find out. First, how do we even know how strong someone was if they died thousands of years ago? The answer is written in their bones. Bone is not a dead, unchanging material like most people think. It's alive. It constantly rebuilds itself, and it responds to stress. When you use your muscles hard, day after day, they pull on your bones, and your bones react by growing thicker, denser, and stronger. It's exactly like how a muscle grows when you lift weights. Your skeleton lifts weights too, in its own way. This means a bone is like a diary. It records how hard a body worked during life. And when scientists dig up ancient skeletons and scan them with modern imaging, they can read that diary. What they found was astonishing. The bones of ancient humans, early Homo sapiens, and especially our cousins, the Neanderthals, were far denser and more robust than ours. In the joints that carry heavy loads, like the hip and the knee, the difference is jaw-dropping. Modern humans can have as little as 1/3 to 1/4 the bone density of ancient foragers in those areas. Read that again. In some parts of the body, a person from the ancient past had up to 4 times the bone strength we do. To put it in perspective, researchers found that human hunter-gatherers from around 7,000 years ago had bones comparable in strength to modern orangutans. An orangutan, an animal that swings through trees and can bend metal bars, had a skeletal strength that ordinary ancient humans matched. And then there are the Neanderthals. If early humans were strong, the Neanderthals were built like tanks. Stockier, broader, more heavily muscled than Homo sapiens, with thick, dense bones and wide, powerful joints. Their skeletons show muscle attachment points so pronounced that we can tell their muscles were enormous. A Neanderthal was not someone you'd want to meet in a wrestling match. They were, pound for pound, among the strongest humans who ever lived. But here's the part that really breaks the modern picture of the past. It wasn't just the men. It wasn't just the hunters. When researchers studied the arm bones of prehistoric women from the Neolithic, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, they found something almost unbelievable. These women had around 5 to 10% more arm strength than modern female athletes. Not more than the average woman today, more than trained, competitive athletes. The everyday women of the ancient world, grinding grain and carrying loads and working the land, had arms that would outmuscle a modern rower or a competitive runner. So the strength wasn't rare. It wasn't reserved for a few elite hunters. It was everywhere. It was normal. It was simply what a human body looked like back then. But raw strength is only half the story. Because there's another kind of physical power our ancestors had. One that, in some ways, we've held on to better. And it might be the most impressive thing the human body can do: endurance. Here is something most people don't know. The human body is one of the greatest long-distance machines in the entire animal kingdom. Not the fastest. Almost every large animal can outsprint us. A deer, a horse, an antelope will leave you standing in a cloud of dust over a short distance. But over a long distance, in the heat of the day, we win every time. Our ancient ancestors used this to hunt in a way that sounds almost unbelievable. It's called persistence hunting. They would pick an animal, a deer, an antelope, and simply start following it. Not sprinting, just moving. Walking and jogging, hour after hour, in the blazing heat. The animal would bolt ahead, then stop to rest and cool down. But the humans never stopped. They just kept coming. Walking, tracking, following, over 10, 20, sometimes 30 kilometers. And here's the key. Animals cool themselves by panting, and they can't pant and run at the same time. So in the heat, they slowly overheat, they stagger, they collapse. And the human, still walking, finally catches up. We were built for this. Our bodies are covered in millions of sweat glands, letting us shed heat while we move. We lost most of our body hair so we wouldn't overheat. We have long, spring-like tendons in our legs, arched feet, and a build tuned for one thing above all, to keep going long after everything else has quit. Some scientists believe we evolved to run down prey across the open landscape for nearly 2 million years. Think about what that means for daily life. An ordinary ancient human might walk 9 to 15 kilometers in a single day, every day, often while carrying a child, or firewood, or the day's food on their back. That wasn't a workout. That was just Tuesday. Now think about how far you walked yesterday. Which brings us to the big question. Why? Why were they so strong and so tireless? And why aren't we? The answer is beautifully simple. It's not magic. It's not some lost gene. It's not that they were a different, tougher species. It's how they lived. Think about an ordinary day for an ancient human. There were no cars, no machines, no shortcuts. If you wanted to eat, you walked. Sometimes many miles, tracking animals or gathering plants. You carried everything on your back: firewood, water, children, the day's food. You climbed, you dug. Women often spent hours a day digging for roots and tubers. You lifted. You ground grain by hand between heavy stones for hours. You built your own shelter from logs and stone. And you did all of this every single day, from the time you were a small child until the day you died. Their bodies were under constant, heavy load. And remember what we said about bones and muscles. They grow strong in response to stress. Ancient humans were, in effect, in a lifelong gym they could never leave. Their strength wasn't a choice or a training program. It was simply the price of staying alive. Now think about your day. You wake up in a soft bed. You sit to eat. You sit in a car. You sit at a desk. Machines lift the heavy things. Wheels carry the loads. A tap gives you water. A store gives you food. Most of us can go an entire day, an entire week, barely straining a single muscle. Our bones and muscles respond to that too, but in the opposite direction. When there's no load, no stress, the body sees no reason to stay strong, so it lets the strength fade. Our skeletons have become lighter, thinner, more fragile. We have quietly traded strength for comfort, and that trade has a hidden cost. The very same body that was built for constant movement doesn't just get weaker when it sits still. It gets sick. The absence of physical activity, the exact comfort we've built our whole modern world around, is now linked to heart disease, to weakened bones, to obesity, even to disorders of the aging brain. Our bodies were tuned by hundreds of thousands of years of hard use. When we stop using them, something quietly goes wrong. We didn't just inherit our ancestors' strength. We inherited a body that expects to be worked. And this is where the story turns from a fact about the past into something about you. Because there's one more discovery, and it's the most important of all. The scientists who study this are careful to point out, we did not lose the ability to be that strong. The potential is still inside us. Our bodies are still capable of building those dense bones and powerful muscles. As one researcher put it, we can be as strong as an orangutan. We're just not, because we don't challenge our bodies enough. The strength of our ancestors was never taken from us. It was set down. It's dormant, waiting, coded into the same body you're sitting in right now. Every time a modern person trains hard, lifts, carries, climbs, runs, loads their bones the way our ancestors did, those bones respond, they thicken, they strengthen. The ancient blueprint switches back on. We even see it in modern athletes, a competitive rower, a serious climber, someone who loads their body day after day, begins to rebuild the very robustness we see in ancient skeletons. The body remembers how. It always did. So, were ancient humans stronger than us? Yes. Far stronger, on average, than almost anyone alive today. Their bones were denser, their muscles larger, their bodies harder, and their endurance almost limitless, forged by a life of relentless physical work. But they weren't a different kind of human. They were us, the same species, the same potential, simply living a life that demanded strength every single day. The difference between them and us isn't in our genes, it's in how we live. And that means the strength of your ancestors isn't lost to history. It's still there, sleeping inside you. The same bones, the same blueprint, the same quiet, enormous potential that carried them across open plains and through the ice and down the long chain of generations that ends right now with you, waiting for you to ask your body to be strong again.